David once again with another live webinar on the UCM VIP series. Today I am joined with Amir Jahangiri, and we have been friends for many years. I first met Amir through Anthropopsis. We ended up having a 4-hour discussion after that. Amir is not only a scientist, he is also a metaphysician, a serious one, and who is in it for the life work, this is part of his life. This is who he is, unabashedly so. Now, Amir is here to talk to us about the state of esoterics. We're going to be talking about the esoteric community. We're going to be talking about where we have come, what has happened, and we're going to be scrutinizing some of the new movements that are out there, and we're going to be seeing whether they stand up to scrutiny. One of the good things that I know about Amir is that he always talks straight from the hip. So he's joining us from the UK, and what is happening is that he is going to be telling us a little bit about himself. So Amir, talk about yourself for a moment there with the audience.
Ladies and gentlemen, greetings. It's a pleasure to be with you on the Universal Citizen Media. It's a unique and powerful movement, and if you haven't become a member, I would recommend that you do so. My background is, as David kindly mentioned, scientific. I have studied telecommunications, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. I'm teaching that now, but really that's my day job. My passion is spirituality, metaphysics, and the more unknown aspects of the human being. And it's a great honor and privilege to be joining, I could say, for lack of a better word, my esteemed teacher, David. So it's a pleasure being here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And like Patty Lucia, which we did on the last broadcast, we are all teachers here. And the people that are going to be on this VIP broadcast are people that are in it for the long haul. We're not in it for the weekend. We're in it for the long haul. And so yes. I just need to put in a plug in here for the network. So what is UCM Media, for those of you who don't know what it is? It's actually, Amir, you were there at the start of all of this. So UCM Media, I just remembered it. We had this discussion. It was yes. Myself, you, and Andrew. UCM Media was basically an idea form that I had because I saw where big tech was going, right? Amir is, as he said, a machine learning expert, so he knows what's coming and he knows what has been done. But we're going to be getting into that in a little while. What happened with the UCM Media was that I decided we're going to build something where people can speak, people can talk, people can say what they have to say without being drowned out to a small section of the internet, where there's no censorship, there's no algorithms. So I set about this little mission to build a network where we can actually integrate people from all around the world. Because it's not like there's no light. It's just that the light has been scattered all around the globe, and there's no possibility of contacting other people of like mind, simply because you have to go through a mountain of barriers, technological and otherwise. And so this is the point of UCM Media. So let me give you a little bit about it. We are completely independent of other people's infrastructure. We don't answer to anyone. We have our own video server. We have our own mobile app, which is unfortunately in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. It is called the UCM Network app. You can just search that and download our app. And all the information that we're going to be bringing to you is information that you will not get anywhere else. And I don't care. There's lots of free networks out there, but they're still dependent on somebody else's infrastructure. This is why this initiative took so long to build. Okay, so Amir, we're going to get into it right away. We're going to be talking about the esoteric community and what has happened. I usually like to start off these shows with sharing my screen and showing what's out there. So trigger warning, I hate to say that word. Trigger warning, this is going to be a little bit upsetting to some people. There's going to be a little bit, Amir, you're good with this, right?
Oh yes, my skin has become very thick, don't worry.
Excellent. I'm going to share my screen. I believe this is the stop number 3. Yes, and we are sharing. So we're going to do a little bit of a video matinee on this little documentary I came across at YouTube. We're going to be watching a little bit of it to start the conversation. So I'm just going to increase this and I'm going to let it play. And Amir, you can talk during this. It's fine. I can pause the video or whatever. Okay, so let's start this off.
In the state of Nevada, little green men fanatics are gathering together in the heart of the desert. Visitors have come here from around the world because this has come to be known as the prime place to spot UFOs. The time has come for this young woman to make her great debut. Her name is Unicole and claims to have been sent to Earth by aliens.
Excuse me, would you like to learn how to be telepathic with aliens?
Sure.
Awesome. We're having a class in about 5 minutes at this tent right here, if you want to come. We believe in aliens and that we can communicate with aliens telepathically. So this class will teach you how to do that. You're welcome to go over there. We're going to get started in about 4 minutes.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Just feel free to come over and sit down. We've got other classes happening too while we're here. Her name is Unicole. Yeah.
In 2012, this young guru claims she was contacted directly by UFOs to begin a new cult,
Have a good day.
Unicult.
I don't know why it's me, but I do know that it is me. I brought this information from my star family to share with Earth. I'm an alien in a human body. I am here on a mission. Hello, thank you all for joining. My name is Unicole.
In just a few minutes, Unicole has attracted around 20 people.
I gotta stop this for a moment. I gotta stop this for a moment to get your feedback. Are you still with me? Is your lunch still down? Are you okay?
You see, when you look at these people, they all have that really true willingness in their heart. Mm-hmm. They're all searching for something genuine. And that's where the problem begins, really. It's open season for people to take advantage of these people who are looking for the truth. And that's part of the human tragedy, you see. And all throughout our history, we've had this kind of problem. And in the worst case scenario, they end up into cults where there's a charismatic figure at the top who basically dominates and controls everyone. So they end up in the well they're trying to climb out of. So yeah, we can all probably guess where this is going. And with alien contact, there's a lot of stuff out there. It reminds me of a gentleman called Stephen Greer, who's actually gone as far as creating protocols on this. Now, what the exact nature of life beyond our world is, it's going to be complicated, but it's problematic. The setting, the whole way this is conducted right here in the video, this is a problematic approach. So yeah, you can imagine it's a bad start. The first brick is laid crooked. So the whole wall is going to go up crooked.
Yes, I'm very much aware of that. We're going to get into that in a little bit. Let us watch a little bit more of this video and we're going to discuss it.
Who express interest in being initiated into her religion.
So the first step to talking to aliens is believe you can talk to aliens. Aliens can very easily pick up the signals from our brain and send them back. So I have crystals for everyone. I'm going to pass them out, and we're going to do a short meditation. Okay, relax your body. Take a deep breath in. Feel the expansive nature of the rolling hills. Now, with your third eye, listen and allow the information to come into your consciousness. information can come in images or shapes. What you are seeing is real. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. That's the class on telepathy.
Unicole's cult is not just fairground entertainment. She has thousands of followers who live in the real world. Will is 43 years old. He is a lawyer, and he is not convinced by mainstream religions.
I am allowed and encouraged to be myself and to experience my true and best and highest self. And that is something that is not generally acceptable in mainstream religions.
Okay, I think we've seen enough. Let's get it. Okay, so let's get into this. You will notice that this individual is a lawyer. He said that he is a lawyer. Okay. So one of the things that I want to dispel is this idea that these cults and all of these people are just crazy people. Okay. They're your lawyers. They might be your dentist. They might be your doctor. They might be your surgeon. And so if that is a disturbing thought, I'm sorry to have to bring this to you. Okay. So let's talk about the esoteric community and what has happened. Okay. Everyone is searching. We understand that everyone is searching. Okay. I don't want to break this broadcast on a bunch of meaningless metaphysical cliches. Let's just talk really plain and simple. The problem with that video is that she picked up a bunch of people in the desert, gave them a bunch of crystals, and they immediately thought that they could be telepathic.
Yes.
And this is a problem. Now, Amir, both you and I have been in this work for decades.
A long time. Yes, indeed.
Right? And we both know that you actually have to practice, understand, read,
Absolutely.
make the work part of your DNA. And so what has been happening in our esoteric communities is that everybody wants this quick fix, enlightenment.
Exactly. I completely agree. So I've just taken down some words. Let's see if I can get this to zoom. So a list of words from here to here on that short video: belief, initiation, crystals, meditation. So these are complicated aspects. You can't do this. It's just too much, too fast. And I completely agree with you. It can't be done over a weekend or a 2-hour class. These things take dedication, years, maybe decades of dedication. And it's an accumulative process. Every time you go through a new discipline and really master it, you notice minute increases in your ability or your sensitivity. So I completely agree with what you're saying. It's just instant gratification. These are the words of Andrew Bartzis again. That instant gratification is a pitfall. It just doesn't work that way.
You know, I actually tested this, and I really did, because before coming on this show, I'm going to say this, and I will link these resources beneath this feed. Before coming on the show, what I did was the following. I created a metaphysical quiz online. The title of the quiz was, "How great is your esoteric knowledge?" I am going to continue to create those, and I'll explain to you how that works. It's multiple choice. Okay, so Amir, this is what I did. Okay, because you know me well enough to know that David would do stuff like that. This is what I did. I created this quiz. The quiz was not on the Kabbalah. It was not on yoga. It was not on any particular path. It was on all paths. Okay? And so what I did was that I dispensed this quiz to some friends of mine who have been metaphysicians and spiritualists and teachers and healers, right? And I wouldn't call them friends. I mean, they're on the net, so Facebook friends, right? The highest score was 3 out of 10. Okay, that was the highest score. Let me tell you why I chose multiple choice as the medium, okay? Because if you don't know the answer, I'm going to guess you can contact the universe and intuit what the correct answer is. So I did that, Amir. I did it. Okay. The reason why I did it as well, it is Philip Sidney said this statement. All is but lip wisdom that wants experience. Okay, that's what he said. Very important quote. And I'll explain to you why this is an important quote. Because lip wisdom is what this young lady was doing in the video. It says, I give you a crystal, you can now talk to aliens. My question is, what if they talk different languages? It's telepathic, so it's universal, right? I've heard these sorts of arguments before. You're assuming that they're operating on the same vibration that you are.
Yes.
Right. Now, Amir knows about brain science, so he knows what I'm talking about, and I'm going to let him get in on this in a little bit. But right? You're assuming that they're operating on the same vibration that you are, even on Earth right now. If I speak to you in a dead language, the concepts of language that you are using right now to process, if I say the word cup to you in a dead language, what I mean is vessel of containment. What you are going to hear in your language in English, which is kind of hyper-specific nowadays, is cup. You're going to hear cup. I'm going to be saying vessel of containment. We're not going to be speaking the same language. So assuming by chance you happen to stumble upon telepathy, you're assuming that you're going to be able to understand anything. Big assumption. Amir, I'll let you get in on here.
That's absolutely true. It doesn't even have to be a dead language. There are people that speak English who have a vast vocabulary. They can speak in a way that most people don't understand. So again, communication requires common experience. So it could be words or meanings. So even if the lady is right and the crystals are doing what they're supposed to do and the person is in a form that could benefit from them and communication actually happens, most of these guys are going to freak out. They're going to run for the hills, you see, because such an experience is going to be paradigm shifting. They're going to freak out, right? And they're not going to come back. The lawyer guy, he's going to go back to his firm and go back to whatever he was brainwashed into during childhood. So again, this kind of thing, even if what method this lady is proposing, and no disrespect for her, she may be grandmaster, I don't know. So no judgment there. But again, as a teacher, I find her approach to be problematic. The way she's trying to pass on this knowledge is problematic. Yeah. Too much too soon. And again, even if there is some sort of a communication in a telepathic way, my personal experience is it doesn't work that way. It's not lingual. It's more knowingness, and understanding that knowingness requires immense self-work. So you can identify what's your own thoughts, what's within you, what is you, and again, you within quotations, that unlimited being that we are. And then to be able to distinguish what's your own thought and what's coming from, again, quote unquote, the outside. So there are lots of difficulties with this. So people may think, okay, my heart is open, I'm willing, I'm going to go for this. But the reality is, like anything else, if you want to become good at it, it requires dedication. A lot of dedication, shocking amount of dedication. So yeah, you're right. The communication is not going to happen. I can tell you that much.
I will give you an example of what I'm speaking about. Amir, you understand the brain. So I will give you an example of years ago when we were practicing transcendental meditation. We were practicing transcendental meditation. It does make tangible changes within the brain and brain chemistry and the brain waves. It does. We had an individual come in. We were teaching CDs, which is like a stepped up level of TM. And we had an individual come in from the Reiki community, right? It wasn't as popular back then, so we didn't know too much about it. So that individual came in to the TM center and wanted to come in on the advanced level.
Yes.
It was not advice. I have no idea what happened. That was a bit of irresponsibility on the people at TM, but she did come in on the advanced level. And so the advanced level, at the time we were utilizing stuff like sandalwood paste, sandalwood, and so on. Okay, very potent forms of sandalwood. It takes 60 years to make sandalwood, in case you guys don't know this. Okay, so if you try to ingest it, if you're using it internally or externally, it's going to make a difference. But all that aside, this individual came in at the advanced level. She was a master of Reiki, right? When you hear the word master back then, when we were practicing, there was a certain reverence that went into that. Now everyone's a master, okay? And so she came in, and she came in at the advanced level. She meditated with us and went through all the purifications and stuff and all that. And then she started to see statues moving, right? Specifically, the statues that we had in the center freaked her right out completely. Not only did it freak her right out, this woman, we were being persecuted back then. All this stuff was not cool back then. It wasn't. You know what I'm talking about. It was not cool back then. It was the Christians telling you that you're in contact with the devil. Okay? So when this woman freaked out, she knew that we were in contact with the devil. Okay?
You know, David, at least nowadays they're not burning us alive. So that's still progress.
Yeah, but she knew that we were in contact with the devil. She ran out. She never came back. She told everyone that these people were devil worshippers and stuff like that. And I'm like, you're a master of Reiki. Come on. Hello. You're supposed to be a master of Reiki, right? You're drawing sigils and symbols, right, to create certain effects of energy. But you can actually be pointing the finger at meditators. Okay? We took a very long time to develop the control to meditate. Okay? On your side of the fence, I have no idea how you took, but when you said the word master to me, I was practicing martial arts at the time. Okay? When you say the word master, you know that that individual has been at this for at least 20 years.
Absolutely.
And that was just taken as a given. It was just taken as a given. So I want to dispel this myth that mastership is something that can come in a weekend. It can't.
Absolutely.
Even if you have a master certificate in whatever you are doing, this is the beginning. This is the beginning of your journey. And you absolutely need to practice.
I completely agree with you. Yes. So speaking about different zones of the brain, I researched the brain for about 10 years, and I've published on it. So there are different frequencies of operation that the human brain goes through. 0.2 to 2 hertz is comatose. From 2 to 30 is alpha and beta, which is waking state and movement. Then you've got gamma, which is cognitive work. And in meditative state, so that's up to, let's say, 100 hertz, 120 hertz. And then in deep meditation, there are states where the brain spikes at 250, sometimes up to 1,000 hertz, very, very shortly. And these are those moments of enlightenment. When something happens we quite don't understand, people call it that moment of enlightenment. And it's not something that is achieved easily. Through meditation. So therefore, of course, you mentioned sandalwood. Our ancestors have been using different natural substances to induce these states, to give the brain and the body, the physiological system, a little nudge in the right direction. And again, that happens with years, decades of training. It's a tradition. So a shaman that would use this would have an apprentice that would go through the rings, go through the rites of passage of how to actually prepare this, how to gather the herbs and substances, mix them correctly, then gently introduce the person into the tradition that, okay, this is going to happen, don't freak out. And everybody freaks out, okay? And including the shaman who's teaching. So yeah, these are immense experiences. So, I completely agree with you. Let's both agree on this. That word mastery is like when you get your black belt in a martial art. That means, okay, dude, now, or lady, now you've learned all the techniques. Now go practice. Now go start hitting a concrete block for 3 years until your tissue, your bone, your muscles, your sinew become strong. You know the technique, but it's like you've just read a book. Okay, you know the info. That doesn't make you the master. Mastery is like osmosis. You have to be patient with it. You have to be dedicated to it. So that fast fix that, okay, come follow me, I'll give you something in 3 months or 1 year, unfortunately, it's not going to work.
And I will tell, I wanted to come in here. There were systems of fast tracking this enlightenment. I believe Ram Dass and the drugs.
Yes.
There are other systems of fast tracking this enlightenment. And there are people who have had accidents who have suddenly attained a level of understanding which landed them squarely in insane asylums everywhere.
Yeah.
The overload was too much for them. So I caution people listening to this broadcast. You want to climb the ladder, don't fly up the ladder, okay?
Because you're going to end up falling from the ladder.
Very much so. And speaking about that, I have had that experience before. I think I told you that I had I used involution as a meditative technique. I used involution as a meditative technique. You want to know what I found? I found that there are actually fuses and barriers inside your brain that will stop you from overextending yourself. It will throw you back down, you bodily back down inside your body. So please be careful, because there's a lot of people who stumble across things. A lot of this knowledge is lost to time and so on, right? But for those of you who have access, please don't be spreading it on the internet and letting people try stuff. Don't do that. I have seen this before.
Yes.
We've had a lot of people who have lost their minds, and I mean have their lives destroyed because they wanted to climb up that ladder too quickly. But on that subject, let's talk about false light, because you know that we were going to get into this topic. There are let's talk about false light. Okay, so let me start off this broadcast with a little bit of information. There seems to have been a movement in the last 10 to 20 years, probably before this, where people are throwing anything at the wall and hoping that it sticks. There is a movement right now on the internet where people are mixing the teachings of Ishtar with the teachings of Mary Magdalene. Like it's disturbing. A lot of the people.
Spiritual smoothie.
Yes, a spiritual smoothie. The people who fall victim to that, and I'm going to have to say it, and this is going to be politically incorrect, are a lot of white middle-class women. And they enter cults, really, right? And I think that they fall prey to these things primarily because they're looking for something. They're looking for a deeper purpose in life. And so they may end up in women's groups. They may end up in yoga studios with particular dogma. They may end up in any, and there have been many scandals where this is concerned.
Yes.
Okay, there have been many scandals.
Throughout history. It doesn't matter. We don't have to look at a particular decade even. And again, looking at middle-class white women, they're just a subgroup of humanity because of social and economic and financial reasons. That subgroup is being targeted, really.
Very much so.
It's not because they're middle-class white and female. It's just the
economics.
Yeah, the environment, the general environment that makes them susceptible to this kind of, let's say, influence, negative influence.
And so we've had a lot of scandals. We've had the Bikram scandal, Bikram yoga scandal. We've had the guy from Anasura, John Friend. We've had a number of scandals which have developed because people fall prey to this kind of horrible influence. And what we want to do, especially on this broadcast, is examine what is it that you need to look for if it is that you need the community, the spiritual community, because at the end of the day, and I'm going to say this to your audience, you may be in a community of people getting support on your spiritual journey, but it still comes down to you. You're still going to be isolated. The things and the darkness that you have to go through, that valley of the shadow of death that you have to walk through. You're going to be walking through that valley of the shadow of death with yourself and your creator, and that's it. There's not going to be a community of people walking through that valley with you.
Yes. And just not to make this too fear-based, that valley of the shadow of death that is spoken on in all different forms of religion and spirituality is that the deception, the distortion of ourself, okay? And it is dark once you realize you've lived your life until a certain point, being deceived, thinking completely wrong, being on the wrong path, striving for the wrong thing. That is a dark thing.
It is a dark thing.
They call it the death of ego.
The death of ego, and it may have manifest effects. So thank you for pointing that out. It's not necessarily something to be afraid of. It is something that you want to run towards, not away from. I use the valley of the shadow of death because it's a very Christian thing that everybody knows. Yes. But whether you're in Reiki and you call it the healing crisis, right? Or whether you're in different, depending on whatever you call it, everybody
has the shaman's death.
The shaman's death. The ego death, right? You must go through that. Yeah. You absolutely must go through that. And for a lot of people, it can be jarring. But when you come out the end of it, when you come out of the end of that thing, you are reborn into something that is different than what went before.
Completely agreed. Yes.
What you don't want is to end up in a situation where you are heaping illusion upon illusion. Because when you enter a lot of these cults and movements and so on, you're already steeped in illusion, and they put another layer onto you. Okay? They put this other layer onto you, and you don't want to have to dig your way out of that hole. Because there are a lot of people, I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about in terms of history. The Satanist movement was originally started by, guess what, ex-Catholic priests. They were started by ex-Catholic priests. I'm not talking about the popular Satanists, but I'm talking about these people who were ex-Catholic priests. Would you like to know why they would start something that is completely against where they came from? Because they were angry because they realized certain illusions were happening. And so for those of you who don't know what the word Satan means, Satanis, it means resist, to resist, the thing that is against, the antagonist.
Yes. And that's absolutely true. I mean, if you go through the Satanic Bible, that's absolutely it. It's a rebellion against established religion.
It is very much a rebellion. And the thing about it is that whether you believe or you don't believe, it's irrelevant. The fact of the matter is that a bunch of people got really, really angry that they were lied to for many, 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 many years. Okay? And this is the start of these negative movements, and there are a lot of them out there. And people wake up and they consider themselves as woke. I don't even like using that word anymore. Right? We had a talk about that actually. Patty Lucia was on here, and we had a talk about that in terms of the use of language. And Amir, you made a very important point, because we're talking about systems of domination and control, which is the next topic we're moving on to. Naturally.
Absolutely. So let's round up and nicely tie with a bow what we've been speaking about. They're different people advertising enlightenment. Mm-hmm. How would you know which is truthful? And the answer is common sense. The answer is part of common sense. Integrity, my friends.
Correct.
Look at the person who's practicing. If their practice doesn't result in them being an enlightened being, meaning that they are kind, they are compassionate, they're generous, they're gracious, they're elegant, they like beauty, they treat fellow humans, fellow life with dignity and reverence. And look at what the teaching is doing to you. Is the teaching making you angry? Is it making you shun everyone and everything? Does it boost your ego, making you think you're better than others? Look at what it's doing. Look at the outcome. It's very clear, and you don't have to go in for years and months. In a few minutes, you can make this clear judgment. Look at the person. What are they doing? What are the people around them doing? What's their energy? What's happening to them?
And there is another indicator here. If what you're doing is taking you away from what you are supposed to be doing, if it's taking you away from reality, okay? If it is that you find yourself, you wake up and you're so at odds and not congruent with the world around you that you want to run away, then it might be that what's happening is probably not the healthiest thing for you. Yeah,
I completely agree. That's a brilliant, brilliant point. Trust the wisdom, that infinite wisdom within your body. After doing a certain practice, are you sleeping well? Or are you having nightmares? Mm-hmm. Do you wake up well and refreshed with a smile on your face? Or are you waking up feeling kind of off? Because these are all indicators. How's your digestive system working? Mm-hmm. Is your heart getting palpitations? Are you starting to feel physically unwell? Trust that infinite wisdom. Because again, that what we yearn for, that enlightenment, at the end of the day, it's all within. The purpose is just removing these barriers, these illusions, distortions, mental parasitic thoughts, negative self-thought, everything that makes you small, if I want to put it into one sentence to describe it, anything that makes you small. Once that is removed, you find that infinite wisdom is already within. You just have to find how to communicate with it. You don't need telepathy with aliens. You need to know yourself, to listen to yourself. So yeah, trust that wisdom, trust that, and then you won't go astray. You'll immediately trust your gut feeling. Okay, this person is an asshole. You know why? He treated this student in a very bad way. Okay,
correct.
If the master is not a master, then that means what he's preaching is no good, or she's preaching is no good. You see what I mean? Trust yourself, because once you've been drinking the Kool-Aid, it might be a little too late.
Correct.
They might have their hooks into your mind, and then you won't be able to think clearly anymore. So don't put your foot in the bear trap.
Yes,
that is for a little bit.
And Amir, one of the misconceptions is that cults are like little communes in some enclave. No, a cult can be diverse, spaced out. This is the age of the internet. Okay, yes. Somebody can develop a cult online very, very easily. Okay, yes. But what Amir said there was absolutely 100% spot on. If what you're doing is not working for you, chances are you might need to change some stuff and come to grips with it. So if you're not healthier, you're not smarter, you're not communicating better with those around you, you're not becoming more tolerant, you don't have generosity of spirit on board, then you might need to fix this. So that is a little bit of an indicator. So for all of those of you watching this broadcast, my suggestion would be, actually, you know what? I'm going to help you guys out. I'm actually going to create a tool, a little self-care checklist, and I'm going to link it in the description below. And we're going to do a little bit of an indicator. How do you feel? How do you feel? Are you connected? Are you here with us? Or are you just watching this broadcast from behind the veil? Are you is what we're saying actually resonating, impacting? Do you see where we're coming from? Or are you just trying to listen to the parts that you find interesting? Okay. So I'm going to do that for you guys. I'm going to link it in the description.
I would like to add something, just to be perfectly just. We don't want to be biased in what we're speaking of. So again, speaking of the traditional Abrahamic religions, now there's truth in every belief system.
Correct.
And I know many people who are devout in their belief, traditional religious beliefs, and they have these spiritual practices that they conduct with integrity, with all their heart. So you see these people, that is working for them. There's no.
It is absolutely working for them. My grandmother lived to 106 years old with a good attitude. Yes. She lived to 106 years old. This woman, this is what. Thank you for that point. Thank you for that point. My grandmother was a Christian woman who lived till 106 years old. Okay, at 80-something years old, she was still walking up and down to town and so on and coming back. Yes. What she found within herself was a peace and a serenity and a connection with the universe that allowed her and sustained her all these years. And these are the kinds of things that we want to say. So just because I might have 1,000 pieces of paper saying I'm a Reiki this, I'm a shaman that, or whatever else, I actually thank you so much for making this point. Thank you, sir. Oh my God, wow. All right, you see, Amir, this is why we need to speak more. Right. Thank you so much for making this point. The little Christian woman who is humble, living down the road from you, may have more peace and enlightenment than you could possibly imagine. Please don't make that kind of judgment. Okay.
And again, you gave an example from Christianity. Let's have a look at Islam.
Correct.
Now, devout Muslims pray 5 times a day. Let's just look at that salat, that Islamic prayer. It's a very, very ancient tradition of yoga that goes thousands of years before Islam. However, if you actually practice this, there's ritual cleansing where you wash your body with water, you prepare your mind and body, that whole idea of physical and spiritual cleanliness, and you perform these moves. It's scientifically proven that it extends your life, significantly extends your life. Please look at all the religious teachers in Egypt or home in Iran. Look at how these guys are like in their 90s, 95. If someone dies at 106, they say, oh, poor young chap. They're used to living long. Seriously. So if your spiritual practice gives you peace, makes your body and mind feel at ease, that's a good indication that this is working for you. Again, being a teacher, there are different types of learning, visual, kinesthetic, auditory, and so on. Please consider this, that we are all unique. So one recipe may not fit you perfectly. Find that which works for you. Makes you feel whole, makes you feel, oh my goodness, look at this beautiful divine cosmos, brings joy into your life. That's another way you can go and find out. Okay, somebody may have thousands of successful students, but it just not maybe your thing. Find your thing.
Correct.
Trust yourself.
Correct. And once again, it's all about the repetition. And this is a lesson from martial arts, right? I could know 1,000 million different techniques, right? To do something, and somebody could learn one punch for the entire life and still be a better martial artist than I am, because they are, what they found is working for them. They have full confidence in it. It has worked for them. And this is what we're saying. And that's a very good point. Oh my God, thank you for that point. We want to move on to the concept of control. in the last 2 years, we've seen, as we've said, the whole concept of misinformation and so on. We are having a show specifically on the esoteric community. So what has it done to the esoteric community? Okay, so I'm going to start off here by saying this experience that we're having has been a bit of a wake-up call for a lot of people. For me, the pandemic was probably the best 2 years of my life. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it plainly. I was able to do more, understand more, learn more in these 2 years because of the isolation, because of all of the silence in mind. I was able to do more. This has been the best 2 years of my life thus far. I am going to say that like that is an unpopular idea, like, David, how the hell could you say something like that? It is nonetheless the truth. I have to speak the truth. And in these 2 years, I was able to create all of the stuff that we're talking here. We were able to create and so on, because the attitude going into the pandemic was a little bit different. When you are in it, you can either despair, right? Yes. And say, oh, when will I see my friends again? Whatever else. Or you can take it as an opportunity. Most of the distractions that I would have normally had were not present anymore. And so I had to go inside. Amir, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about this, because our experience is similar.
I completely agree. You see, in times of crisis, you can truly see what is what. Let's look at cases of war where people die from stupid stuff. And then we have examples of people surviving the Holocaust, you see. It's that test that will show you what's what. And it's not a vindictive test. It's an informative test. Let's say a baseline test for you to see where you're going, what's going on. Many people found out they're living with people that are not compatible with them. I mean, globally, breakups and divorces went up by over 200%. Mm-hmm. I think you can hardly find a person who doesn't know of a breakup or a divorce in their surrounding people.
Correct.
So you see, that's an indication. Okay, you're living with a person, maybe have kids with a person that's not on your best, good. It's not aligned with your highest good. And at the other hand, if you found out that, okay, this whole business of COVID-19, which affected a lot of people negatively, has made very little in your daily routine, that's a good indication that, okay, you're probably on the right path, meaning that you're self-sufficient, that all the knowledge, all the resources you require are already there within you or within your reach. So again, if things have gone badly, look at it as a positive thing. It's expunged that which doesn't serve you. Because if you're not full and happy already within, another person will never be able to fix it. That's an illusion. That's madness. That's insanity in point of fact. So find out what's been making you unhappy. A lot of times people say, okay, this man or this woman is driving me bloody insane. So they break up, and that's a good thing. And you know what? Those children that were living in that household would have been suffering, being traumatized. So that separation is a good thing. Both parties still love those kids. Correct. But that child will not be exposed to domestic violence, anger, passive-aggressive behavior, all sorts of negative things that we do when we're under that much pressure. Mm-hmm. So yeah, for me also, I took full advantage. I completed a lot of stuff that I didn't have time to do normally, including an entire month of fasting, water fasting. Just water and sit there and mellow and let the universe speak with you. So yes, my body was weak, but my mind, my intuition was on fire. So yeah, I couldn't have done that if I had to drive to work every day. I'd probably have a car crash. So yes, for me, it was also very good.
It was. And that's because you chose to grow through this thing as opposed to go through it. Yes. And this is what is happening. And this shows no signs of stopping. So if this is the new normal, then you guys need to buckle up and shore up your spirituality and your spiritual practices, because that's the only thing that will get you through this. For those of you who have been living lives of distraction, I call it lives of distraction, the pandemic certainly assisted you. But here is the shadow side of that, and I have to say this. Because they've been at home, they've been turning to the internet as the main distraction, and that has been disastrous for a lot of people. It has been disastrous for a lot of people because they have turned towards the internet. And if you wanted to find one single place where distraction is the point, right? The raison d'etre, it would be the internet. Okay, especially if you're on social media and so on. And there's a lot of false light. So people who were predisposed anyway to light, they're going to be going searching on the internet. And I did a little bit of a check myself because I'm investigative like this. And there is a lot of stuff on the internet. And we go back to the earlier discussion. If what is happening is making you feel badly, it's not working for you. Okay? I said it on a broadcast. I keep saying this on broadcasts. Don't walk around your day if you're in the house and you're locked down with the news, CNN, Fox, whatever else playing in the background. Amir is a brain scientist. I actually want him to weigh in on this because with regard to the brain and how fair and all the stuff works, I want him to actually tell you through himself. So listen to the scientist. Amir, go ahead.
I'm just getting goosebumps thinking about this, not in a positive way. So let's go back to the First and Second World War, where psychological warfare became a thing, as in armies investing in their air force and their tanks and their large and small weapons began investing in this in order to defeat the enemy. Mm-hmm. Okay? And since then, let's say it never stopped. And the roots of this kind of psychological warfare is truly horrific, inhuman, really dark. Speaking of false light, that's where it lies. And they do this because if you can dissuade an enemy from fighting you and putting down the weapon, you've done what Sun Tzu said. You have won without fighting. So it's effective. Instead of killing 100,000 people, you brainwash them to lay down their arms. Now, however, this has found its way into every nook and cranny of our life. Okay, now in advertisement, in politics, in economics, in education, every single aspect has been penetrated by this truly dark manipulative force. That the human mind is a very simple thing once you know the underlying mechanisms that drive it forward. Our entire cognitive model, let's call it a reward function, is a simply mapped function. You can map it out mathematically. Once you know the different components, you can manipulate people like puppets. So let's go to the news, the information that's online. They use the most advanced form of psychological warfare. Some of them actually make you feel physically sick because that part that reaches your conscious mind, again, the conscious part of the brain is a very thin layer on the top of the brain called the neocortex. Mm-hmm. And the brain has folds and different shapes to increase the surface area. So our conscious mind is more expanded compared to other primates. But the rest, the majority of the functions of the brain never reach the conscious state. Many powerful things are happening in the background and you're not aware of them. So that would be another point for meditation. However, let's stay on topic. They can influence your mind in ways that would be horrific and disgusting, taking away the freedom of your will, the sovereignty you have, forcing you to buy a certain product, forcing you to vote a certain way, forcing you to do certain things that if you're thinking clearly, you would never do. Okay, so please limit the amount of intake, especially of news. Some of these guys are using subliminal messages, binaural beats, different frequencies of light flashing up and down. So these were established by the Nazis, by the way. They had a whole lot of people to experiment on. This is a science, people.
And I could weigh in. I could weigh in here as well. Let me just weigh in briefly. I'm a hypnotherapist, and I teach hypnotherapists with the International Association of Counselors and Therapists, the International Medical Dental Hypnotherapy Association, and so on. At a certain point in time, we had a directory of hypnotherapists. There was a certain point in time where 70% of the association were clergymen. So there was a certain point in time. This is some real facts here, okay? The hypnotherapists will never be out of work. They won't. There's not going to be a hypnotherapist that's going to be out of work. People want quick fixes, that's number one. But advertisers find these people valuable. As an example, I'm going to give you some real facts because my background is in business as well as hypnotherapy and other things as well. But let's just deal with the two of them. I can tell you that if I show you a product 5 times, it begins to break down your resistance. It begins to break down your resistance towards buying that product. This is not me speculating. This is a statement of fact that has been proven millions of times. Okay? So there is a psychological warfare at play with regard to just simple marketing. How many of you, when the US was going to invade Iraq, as an example, how many of you started off with, I don't really like war. War is bad. Let's not go to war. And somehow found yourselves on the other end of, yeah, let's go get these mofos.
Yes.
How many of y'all started off that way? Because cognitively, right? If you sit down, you calm and so on, and you think to yourself, I would not like to be part of a war. Therefore, by the golden rule standards, I should not wish war on others. And that's where it begins, and that's where it should end. But it doesn't, does it? You somehow find yourself in a pro-war rally. Let's go invade some people. Look, Amir, I have seen these things happen. I've seen these things happen. People start off with a reasonable brain. And this 2 years, it has shown you who is who with regard to people. Okay? Because you see, people were normal before. We were all laughing, singing, dancing together. And then this thing hit, and then there are divides. And then you're either on this side or you're on that side. I am not going to sit here and ask Amir, so Amir, did you take the jab? I'm not going to sit here and ask. I don't care whether he did or not. I don't care whether Amir did or not. I really don't care. You think I'm going to treat him any differently? No, I'm not, because my mind says that if I made a choice or did not make a choice, as the case may be, I wouldn't like someone treating me badly. I want to have a talk about the morality philosophers. I don't want to have to get into that. But if you keep your shit basic and not let the garbage into your mind, keep stuff basic and not let the garbage into your mind, you will be a better human being. And I mean better human being in terms of your moral and ethical judgments and your moral and ethical actions as well. Okay? Keep it basic. Would you like to be treated this way? No. Don't do it to others. And then you cut through all the dross and stuff like that.
So knowledge is power. So the first thing is to be aware that, oh my God, this is going on. This is happening. This is not myth or legend. This is scientific and peer-reviewed and published and re-examined as can be. Now, thinking about the war on terror, after 2001, again, many people were saying, no, war is bad. Mm-hmm. But they got everybody hyped up, gaining consent, that's a key word, to go to war. 20 years later, there's over 3 million casualties in the Middle East. And every man, woman, and child in the US is $45,000 in debt. So why did they do it? Okay, let's track that missing $45,000 per head. Okay, I love my American brothers and sisters to death. They're hardworking, noble, decent population. I'm not bashing anyone here, but just please let's look at the facts. It's the same mechanism that the Nazi party, the Socialist Party, used in Germany to rally the German people up. And look at all the casualties. Over 100 million casualties in World War II.
I need to give them some statistics here. Please understand, for all of you who are listening to this broadcast, the entire World War II was created by 16% of the German population. Do not look at Germany and say that's the country where Nazis came from. That was 16% of the population, the Nazi party. And that 16% did something that is being utilized in America today. I'll explain what it is. The premise is, if you do a little bit of evil, you make a lot of good. Look, this is a lie. This is a lie. It's not right. You can't do a little bit of evil, because a lot of these people in Germany at the time when the Nazis were ascending to power, they thought, well, you know, this is everything is going to be all right. They're probably going to make the country better and stuff like that. And they stayed in the background and they let 16% of the country initiate a Holocaust. They initiate a Holocaust. And I am like, what I kept saying when I was listening and reading and researching this stuff, what could they have been thinking? They were thinking, let me get out of the way, let me stay to my little corner and keep to myself. There is a statement in philosophy which I'd like to share with y'all. Evil flourishes when good men fail to act. I should bring this into a politically correct century. Evil flourishes when good persons or people fail to act. Okay? If you fail to act, then this is like, look at this was the most evil time in history. You had the creation of the atomic bomb. Like, whose idea was that? Like, whose idea was that? Talk about mutually assured destruction. Because funny thing, atoms don't care where you are. Like, they're indiscriminate. They're not going to say, oh, you know, these are the bad guys, but the good guys we're not going to kill. No, they don't do that. That's not how it works. So this is what I want to say to people. Guard your mind, because you only have one of them. That's the first thing. And if you give it away freely to the powers that be, then you don't deserve the mind that you already have right now. Okay, you were given that mind for a reason. You were given an intellect. And you were given critical thinking for a reason. Okay, you are part of the human family, and you have the ability to think critically. Amir, I want to segue into a little bit of a morality philosophy talk, because we don't usually do this.
Please, let's do this.
Okay. The reason why I want to segue into this is because I want to give the audience some tools that they can actually use to judge their own actions. We're not going to be judging you. We're going to give you some tools to judge your own actions. Okay, so we know the golden rule. The golden rule says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Okay, everybody knows that, right? That's a basic philosophy, and it's very simple but it gets kind of complicated, right? It gets kind of complicated. So for instance, it gets kind of complicated because philosophy is never cut and dried. So as an example, Harvey Weinstein might have said, but I want somebody to squeeze my ass. I want, right? A rapist might say, but I want a woman to rape me. So I'll do unto others as I would have them do unto you. So it's never always cut and dried like that. So I'm going to give you a couple of other philosophers. The philosophy that a lot of you are getting tripped up on is the philosophy of John Stuart Mills. And John Stuart Mill said something along the lines of, the right and moral action is the action that serves the greatest good. Not a good philosophy to go by, okay? The action that serves the greatest good. That is mass morality. He's preaching mass morality. So if I do an action and it serves 1 million people, but one person gets hurt, then it was the right action. No.
That's the Nazi mentality.
That's exactly the Nazi mentality.
They were taking over most of the European continent, so it was best for most Germans. So it probably would have been good. You see, but yeah, that indeed is a faulty philosophy.
It is the philosophy of John Stuart Mills, but that's what he put forward. Another morality philosopher, which I subscribe to because it's a little bit more complex, is the morality philosophy of Immanuel Kant. You guys can go and research this. This stuff was in my head, has been floating around in my head. And he said for an action to be moral, it had to fulfill 3 criteria. Okay? The 3 criteria was the action had to be reversible. That would be your golden rule. Okay? Meaning that if I did an action, the action I must accept that it must be done to me as well. It can be done to me as well. Okay? That's the first criteria that it had to fulfill. The second criteria that it had to fulfill was that the action had to be done in the spirit of freedom. There could be no coercion. There can be no coercion of any kind, right? I can't feel put upon to create an action, okay? The third criteria that it had to fulfill is that it had to be universally applied, which means that if it was right in Belgium, it was right in France, it was right in South America, it was right everywhere else, okay? That is the philosophy of Immanuel Kant. It forces you to have to think about all aspects of all dynamics of the action that you are taking. But if you don't want to get that complex, fall back onto the golden rule. How would I like to be treated? How would I like to be seen or received? How would I like people to speak to me? As very, very important for those of you who are online, for those of you who are going to be seeing this broadcast, writing under or commenting and so on. Well, I don't like this, I don't agree with this, and you guys are dickheads, as an example. Okay? How would you like to be spoken to? Is this your form of communication? Right? These are the kinds of things that you have to think about. You have to think about these things because honestly, the world is not in a good place. For those of you who are pro-war, who wanted the US to invade this place or that place, really think about it. Would you like to be invaded? Because you all had a taste of it in 9/11. Did not feel nice. Americans died that day. Don't go to other people's lands and invade them, especially if you are not invited, as an example. Because you wouldn't like to be invaded, right? As an example, if you are online and you're talking to someone and or you're commenting on something, I know you're a keyboard warrior, nobody's going to know, I'm just going to call this person names and so on, and that's where it stops. But the truth of the matter is you wouldn't like it done to you. Like, I cannot stress this enough. This is esoteric. This is religious. This is at all levels of the human experience. This is true and most certain, right? You don't need to spend too much time thinking about that. But there are people who are taken over by very, very dark forces, I think. And some of these, I don't even have to go esoteric on this. I can go like just the media. The media will make you do bad things. You want to weigh in here, Amir?
Yes, absolutely. You know, the thing about many of these moral philosophies and socio-political theories is that they're not tested. And the majority of them, when they actually go into practice, end in disaster. Let's look at the example of communism. Everybody has the right to free this and that, free education, free social welfare, and so on. But communism end up being just as bad as fascism. So these complicated theories are basically the output of some, let's call them a brilliant mind who meant well, but they don't correspond well with reality. Mm-hmm. So complicated rules are going to be problematic for people who don't have time to read 50 different philosophers and then think about the fancy words that have been spoken. Mm-hmm. So let's keep it simple. For morality, let's go way back to the Zoroastrian belief, which had three main pillars: good thoughts, mm-hmm. good words, good deeds. And if something is compromising you, no matter if it is the highest good of 1 million people, let me say it, to hell with the 1 million people, because I'm the master of my reality. I protect myself. Don't compromise yourself. Okay? If a certain action is wrong, nip it in the bud. Don't do it. If something is hurtful, don't say it. If it's not good, don't do it. If they force you, then you're a martyr. You're an enlightened being, being perished, being killed for your belief. That's actually right. Nobody can judge you. Don't compromise yourself. You protect yourself, and whatever the world does, that's not your responsibility. Okay? There's this famous picture of all the Nazis doing the Heil Hitler, and one guy there standing in the photograph with his arms crossed.
Correct.
That's to hell with all of you Nazis. I'm not cool with this. So he probably lost his life, but glory upon that enlightened human being.
Correct.
Don't compromise yourself.
Absolutely. I'm going to give you a very basic construct. For if there are any members of the Abrahamic religion watching this broadcast right now, I want to say something to you. Whenever I forced to give a lecture to religious people, and I say forced to give a lecture to religious people, I always bring up this point, and the point is always 100% never well received. I ask, how do you feel about the devil? How do you feel about Satan? If you were to walk into this room right now, right? And the answer usually is, I can't stand the devil. He's the enemy. He's the demiurge. He's evil. He's whatever. And I'm like, so the devil is evil and the demiurge and so on like that. So if you hate him, then you're feeding him then?
That's so true, because that hate within the heart, that's not light. That's not divine. So by what you're thinking and feeling, you're already, as David says, feeding into it, fighting fire with gasoline.
Correct. That's hilarious.
That's not a very enlightened way of going about it. Ask any firefighter.
Correct.
So within your mind, within your speech and actions, be light. If you know what the divine is, love, compassion, the highest good of all, again, that should be within you. Please, dear brothers and sisters, focus on you. You're responsible for you. You're the God of your universe. Your reality is manifested by you. Please take care of what goes on, your thoughts and your emotions. And that's what mastery is. If there's anyone that's a master, it's a person that has total control over their thoughts and their emotions. You have no other control. That the rest of that is an illusion. Master yourself and watch the universe bow in reverence.
Excellent.
The cosmos praise you in reverence, because this is not an easy thing to do.
Excellent.
It takes a lot of pain, going back to that valley of the shadow of death that we spoke of in the beginning. We're born into families that are against us. We're born into a society that is cruel and backward, right? We're not born into the light. We're born into a very bad mess, climbing up, getting rid of all that filth in every single form of it, whether it's spiritual, energetic, psychological, physical. That is not an easy thing, my friends. And that's what spiritual enlightenment is. That's the path of mastery. Clean yourself up.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Amir. We've come up to the time. So what I'm going to do is give everybody a little plug. We're going to be doing this again. Of course we are. Don't even think that we're not going to be doing this again. This has been a very interesting discussion. I want to do a few plugs here. For those of you who don't know who Amir Jahangiri is, I will be posting the bio on the UCM page, and you guys can hit him up. Amir, you want to give, before I do the plugs for the UCM, you want to give the audience a way of either contacting you if you want them to, or?
I've thought about this, and if you wish a blessing and a healing, please fill your heart with light and invite me in the name of that beloved, that mystery that is the source of all creation. I bless you now.
Thank you.
I heal you now.
Thank you so much. And so let me give you guys a little bit of a plug in terms of the UCM network. This video is going to be posted on our video site, which is separate from any infrastructure. And if you guys want to link to it, we will absolutely send it to you. But we're going to stream it live on Facebook. The reason why we've created this independent network is because we don't care about censorship. Please take our videos down. We have alternatives. Okay, so that's basically what we're talking here. All the stuff on this network, I will be bringing to you people like Amir. Amir and I are going to be doing quite a few recordings together. We hope that you guys tune in and so on. I believe Andrew is going to be coming in on some of our talks as well. And so I want you guys to know that this is happening. Also, if you haven't checked out Andrew's book, you want to hold that book up for us. The Galactic Historian by Andrew Bartzis, right? And Bruce McDonald. I actually did the forward for that book, so check it out. And bounces back. Thank you, Amir. Apart from that, we are going to be very active this year, and we will be in touch with you guys and let you guys know what's going on. So, Amir, I'm going to let you have the last word. Is there anything you want to tell the audience?
Okay, so my honored friends, esteemed audience, I want you to now look within and ask you to just examine how you're feeling after listening to us. Are you feeling better or are you feeling worse? Do you think there's a ray of hope and light in your heart, or do you feel dragged down and agitated? And again, we're prescribing the same rule set that we spoke about. Look within yourself. If you find that this is beneficial, even in the most tiny way, please continue to follow. We're doing this without financial motivation. David has created this infrastructure out of his own pocket because you know why? We speak the truth without caring, and we don't care about demonetization or censorship. And the people that are coming here are of the highest caliber. You don't need to search for masters here and there and find junkies, find shitheads. We've done the work for you. The highest caliber people are here, and I'm their humble student. It's a great honor to be able to speak with you through this platform. And I wish you all the very, very best.
Thank you so much, Amir. And I want to say to the audience who tuned in, or for those of you who stayed until the end, we're going to be linking the resources. I'm going to be linking self-assessment in this description below. And I'm going to let you guys have a go at the Esoterick quiz. And let me know how you guys do. You can just hit me up in the comments. You guys know where to find me. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Amir, just stay on because we have a lot more to talk about. Thank you so much.